Hey guys, Steeble here. Today we're going to be taking a look at a game in the Farragut and kind of going over the challenges for the campaign. I get a lot of questions from people through the comments or through private messages. What's the best ship to do this challenge or that challenge? And I see a lot of people discussing it online in terms of what the strategy is for these. One of the ones I think people have trouble with is the X amount of citadels. I think it's 7 citadels in a certain match. And I think the tendency for newer players is to just go with battleships because battleships, you want to be getting citadels. That's where you get the big boom boom shots, and it kind of makes sense that way. But if you really look at your stats over the course of 10 to 100 games or whatever in a battleship, really you can get a lot of citadels in this particular match, but it's less likely. So there's 2 things you want to be looking for. Number 1, you want lower tiers because that's when people are going to be sailing at broadsides a lot more, or presenting their broadside a lot more in lower tiers just because they don't understand armor angling as well. And then you want kind of rapid firing guns with good AP. So I use the Farragut when I do this one. It's probably the easiest ship to do the challenge if you understand kind of the basics of USN destroyers, which we'll be talking about some USN destroyer gameplay as we go through this match as well. First step you want to do is clear out the enemy destroyers. Like in this game we have 3 on the opposing team. You don't have to clear them all out, but you want to clear out the immediate one. And so don't load up your AP immediately, because what you're going to want to do is post up closer to the enemy targets. The AP is really good at getting citadels close range. Long range is going to be a lot harder. So this ship, I don't know frankly what he's doing. He's just kind of sailing in a straight line, occasionally shooting one gun. So that's not a real big of an issue taking him out, but in general, just kind of make contact with those enemy destroyers, then sail away from them while gunning them down, and then take care of them. Once you've done that, now you're in position to look for cruisers, and those are your primary targets. Tier 3, 4, 5, 5's a little bit different, but most of the cruisers that you're going to see in this Farragut are going to be light cruisers. Light cruisers are not going to have any problem penning with AP if you're hitting the broadside. So here we got this Doogie here, and he's sailing broadside. We slow down, we pop the smoke, switch over to AP, and we just pelt him. And you can really take care of this challenge in about 5 seconds with this ship, just shooting AP rounds into these cruisers. It's not that much of a issue. So we've got the smoke deployed here. We're just going to wait for him to come around the island. And it looks like he's going to continue to sail broadside, so we're just going to keep going at him. Now, French cruisers, most AP rounds, these low-tier French cruisers are going to overpen, but because of the light or the lower caliber guns that you have on destroyers, you get the penetration, you get the detonation on the internal part of the ship, and you get those citadel shots, assuming you're hitting them right at the waterline, which is what you want to be aiming for citadel shots. And here we got a Königsberg, just to seal the deal. He's also sailing broadside. And this, again, is just kind of why you want to go low tiers. I mean, USN destroyers are really good at hitting citadels on broadside cruisers, really throughout all tiers. But there's going to be a lot less armor angling at these lower tiers, and people just kind of aim down the sight, shooting at the one target they're focused at, not really realizing that they're getting pelted and melted. So that ship, I thought he was beached on the island. I didn't notice he was beached on the ship, so I assumed he was going to back up. So I kind of fired one salvo where he was in case he stayed put, one behind him, anticipating him to back up. Then as soon as I launched him, I realized he was dealing with a sunk ship that he was kind of stuck on. So here's another good example of AP into broadside battleships. Now the USN and the German destroyers in particular have really good AP, and I think the French, once they come out, at least the Le Triple or whatever the heck that one's called, has really good AP into the broadside of battleships. But what you're kind of seeing here is I was pelting that superstructure, the area above the deck of the ship, and the numbers that I was getting were diminishing. Initially it was, several thousand per salvo, Then it kind of dropped down to like a 300 here, 400 there. And there's HP pools in each section of the ship. So once it kind of gets drained in that superstructure, you're getting less damage. Then I switch over to the front of the ship, the nose. It's lightly armored again, and there's plenty of HP in there. You can see it was not discolored when he initially started shooting at it. And that's, if you notice the ship darkening as the game goes on, that's not just a fun little visual thing. That's actually representing that area of the ship getting damaged and less HP being there. So we moved to the nose, got some more AP damage out of there. We weren't going for Citadels, obviously. I've completed the challenge at this time, but this is just good fundamental USN battleship or destroyer gameplay. Taking on a battleship. Now he was just sailing in a straight line, so we torped him as we were whittling him down, and that would have been a very dangerous play had he decided to shoot at me, which he should have done, but he was distracted by whatever was going on in his mind. So we're up to 4 kills, and the challenge is satisfied, but I would like to continue the reign of terror. So I'm looking at that rainbow-shaped indicator, the radio location frequency thing, or whatever it's called, and that's showing me the closest position of the position of the closest ship on the enemy team. It's the twist and track perk that Halsey's gotten, a lot of the destroyer commanders has. So this is good for hunting down other destroyers because they're not going to be visible on the screen very often, but you can kind of tell where they are. At this point, I'm thinking he's probably AFK because, you know, there's destroyer should not be sitting way in the back doing nothing, especially not buffing his Dewey this late in the game. So I was expecting a AFK ship that we could go get our Kraken on there, but then the radio position kind of turns to the right a little bit, so I can tell that he's actively moving. So here I'm looking on the map. Do I want to go around that big island to my right, the biggest island really in the area, or do I want to go north? And as soon as he pops up on the map, then I commit to going to the left of it to go around the north side. Flip my guns over, lock them to the right. That's one of the advantages of using gun lock, is you can determine which side am I going to most likely be firing out of. So I figured if he's going to continue sailing north, I'd be shooting from the right side of the ship. But then I think here in the next second or two I decide that I want to either engage him or that Emily, that other cruiser that's sitting there. I think that one might actually be AFK, that far cruiser to the northeast. But at some point I'll flip my guns back to the left. And you just, if you're going to use gun lock, which I strongly recommend you do, it's controller preset number 3 or 4 if you don't know. It gives you an advantage. Just figure out in your mind which side of the ship am I going to be firing on. And that's going to be determined by what path am I going to be taking to get to whatever I'm attempting to get to, and then where are the targets located from there. And then once you've made that determination, you pick your side of the ship that you're going to be firing off of most likely, lock your guns into the position you want. And you look at the diagram, you got that dotted line down there. You can kind of see on the diagram, once all those guns are yellow, then they're in firing position. So you can kind of pre-angle your ship, lock the gun, and that'll allow you to present a very steep angle. That's especially helpful for battleships. If you lock your guns at the steepest angle possible, then you can kind of keep an eye on that dotted line and maneuver your ship and angle that way. So that's another advantage of using gun lock, which there are numerous advantages in my mind. Now, other ships to use, if you're strictly a battleship player, you'll get it eventually, but I think battleship's actually probably the hardest class to do this. If you don't really like destroyers, though, try Tier 4 cruisers. Omaha, Marblehead if you got it, but most people don't. Omaha, Königsberg, those are probably the easiest ones. Very good AP shells on both of them. Again, you're just looking for those broadside cruisers, zap them away with the AP, and you can rack up quite a bit. I didn't even end up getting, I mean, I got a lot of Citadels this game, but you can easily get like 20 Citadels in a game if you're really focusing on trying to do it. And if you're in these low tier games where, again, you're going to be seeing a lot of broadside. So this guy pops up at the screen. I was using my radio position to find him, and I had my guns pre-positioned, and that allowed us to get the Kraken. So that's it for this one, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. New to the channel, consider subscribing. There's a lot of World of Warships coming all the time for you. Questions, comments, leave them below. Love to hear from you guys, and we'll see y'all later. All right, peace.